Hello everybody, welcome to amazing new podcasts and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. In each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads-on and emerged victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of inspiration, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. Whether you are dealing with health challenges, or facing professional setbacks, or personal struggles, this channel is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there's a path to hope and triumph. So join us as we share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. So prepare to be inspired and find the strength to navigate life's challenges. So this is Amazing You channel where hope takes center stage. I am your host. My name is Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars, Venus, life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, chakra practitioner, and life force compassion practitioner. And today, I have the immense pleasure to introduce you to a very special lady all the way from Ottawa, Canada. Her name is Elaine Lindsay, and she is a partner at TROOLSocial, stands as a testament to the power of resilience, integration, and the relentless pursuit of learning. With a firm belief in the synergy between mindset, website, social media, and SEO efforts, she created the Integrate and Optimize method online, establishing herself as the Digital Integration Diva. Recognizing the importance of SEO and online congruence early on in 2011. Elaine's forward-thinking approach has positioned her as an early adopter and a lifetime learner. Her dynamic presence extends to international stages as a speaker, and she passionately hosts the podcast Suicide Zen Forgiveness, dedicated to ending the silence, stigma, and shame surrounding suicide loss, ideation, and mental health. Her story is a powerful reminder of the strength found in adversity and the potential for rebirth and reinvention at every turn. Very warm welcome to Amazing You, Elaine.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very much appreciated. It's important that we get the information out. I'm a firm believer in talking about the things that are difficult in our lives. And that's part of why I do my podcast and I come on others.
Thank you. I am very grateful for you and for connecting with you, Elaine, today. Thank you for being here. And my first question I would like to ask you, looking at your bio, I was very impressed of the great things you've been doing on the journey you've been in and the struggles that you've overcome and the resilience within you to always rise up. So I would like you to share with us your experiences of overcoming suicide loss and a severe motor vehicle accident and botched surgeries. So can you share with us how these experiences have shaped your resilience and your approach to life and business, Elaine?
Absolutely. And thank you again. I think the best place to start is probably at the beginning. When I was 16 years of age, I lost a very dear friend to suicide.
Right.
We were all excited about going to a concert. It was New Year's Eve. We were going the next day. And just after 11 o'clock, I picked up the phone to call her.
Okay.
And as I dialed the number, I realized that, like me, she was babysitting, but she was babysitting her 93 and 95-year-old aunt and uncle.
Okay.
And I didn't want a chance messing up our opportunity to go to the concert the next day.
Yeah.
So I quickly slammed down the phone. From what we understand, she took her life that night, and that sent me into an unbelievable tailspin of guilt and recrimination and wondering, what if, had I only kept going with that phone call, would it have changed anything? All these years later, I realize I had absolutely no other part to play in what happened that night.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me and my friends and my family, what people didn't know is that even as a child, I had what they now call suicidal ideation. And it was an option, if you will, for something as little as burning the toast or getting less than an A on a test. An option that popped up in my head with all those little voices that talked to us was, well, you could just make your exit and then nobody has to deal with you. That and this abrupt loss had me choosing the wrong things in life.
Right.
I didn't want to feel. Okay. I didn't want to feel anything.
Yeah.
I was so raw. Everything. It was like every nerve ending was on fire. And I chose to hang with the wrong people and to start drinking and to do drugs and all of the things that you don't want to be doing at 16. And my poor parents, who had no idea what was wrong or what was going on, they thought they would take me home to Scotland because maybe a change of venue would, make me wake up or make things change. Well, the only thing it changed was it gave me some new friends to drink with and new drugs to try and new places to hang out. It didn't change anything other than it was the only time in the next 4 years I didn't spend most of my nights in the cemetery. Sitting there wondering why, what could I have done different? What could any of us, how did we not see this? That became this weird mantra that ran through everything I did. And weirdly, just 4 years later, I had fallen out of my stupor somewhat. I got married. I had a little girl. And I was once again pregnant. I had actually lost a child the year before. I was now 20 years old. I was almost 7 months pregnant. And a friend called who had been picked up by the police for drinking and driving. I went out at 2 a.m. to give him a lift home. And that night, my life changed forever. On the highway at 2:30 a.m, I was crushed between 3 cars. I was standing between my car and a police car. The policeman was supposed to be giving me a boost. And it just so happened my car was parked on the highway directly in front of Andrea's grave. And I swear to this day,
Right.
Andrea put the hood up on that fur coat I had on, and it's the only thing that saved my head from splitting like a melon. I lost the child that I was carrying. I lost part of my left leg. I fractured my skull. I dislocated my shoulder. I broke my legs in multiple places. And it was very hard for at the time, just ambulance drivers, because you have to realize this was 1976. We didn't have cell phones. The young man whose fault it was not that he hit my car, the policeman had not set up any flares. So as this young man came around the curve in the highway, he didn't have an opportunity to even see my car. The hoods were up on the car and the police car, and I was between the cars, showing the policeman how to use the booster cables. I'm barely 5'2". I neither saw the lights hit the curve, nor did I hear anything. So when that car hit my car, it hit me, which hit the police car. And as they were torn apart, I went up in the air, missing part of my leg, and came down 2 lanes over on the highway. I know that's pretty graphic, but I wanted to be sure that I gave you the sort of where I was. I was already still damaged from losing my friend.
Yeah.
And now I thought I had lost the only thing that to me mattered. I had these long, long legs and I had nice eyes, but in my mind, that's all I had. So that began 5 years of surgeries and plastic surgery and losing my kneecaps and losing my cartilage and having more internal surgeries and losing other things, gallbladders and what have you. They just kept coming back and saying, oh, we have to take this out, or we have to fix this, or we have to change that. My life had become a series of hospital visits.
Yeah.
I didn't deal well with any of it. I became, well, let's just be clear, a nasty, pain-riddled victim who just could not see outside what I was feeling. And it made life pretty difficult. Somewhere in there was still a shred of me. Even since a little kid, I've always had a very bent sense of humor.
Okay.
And I was always Pollyanna. I always tried to find the good in things. Even at this point, being wrapped up as I was in so much pain and being so angry and just defensive at all times, there was still that sense of humor and there was still that me that came out to play every so often. A few years go by, I got remarried because I blew my marriage up. I had another child. And by this point, I had put on a lot of weight. I couldn't ride my bike anymore. I couldn't figure skate. I couldn't ride my horse. I couldn't do any of those things. I couldn't ski. I walked with a limp. I had surgery on one leg and then the other over and over. I use that as humor too, because people would see me and say, oh, I thought the cast was on your left leg. And I'd say, no, don't be silly. It's on my right leg. 2 months later, they'd see me again and it would be on the right leg.
Okay.
Yes, we went back and forth over and over for 5 years, having different things done. There was always that little seed, thank God, of that sense of humor, because I think that's what carried me through.
Wow.
When I was 27, just after I had had my son, I decided that I was going to go in for an experimental surgery. It was called a vertical banded gastroplasty. And unbeknownst to us, the only doctor in our city who did this was being investigated because he'd already killed 2 people. We knew none of this. I only knew that my whole family was against this procedure.
Right.
Now, the one other thing I will say, when we get something into our heads, when we know that this is what we want, this is right for us or whatever, no one can dissuade us. And when you look outside yourself for confirmation, you get it. The universe works in strange ways. About 3 months before I had the surgery, we were in a restaurant for brunch with the whole family. My son was just a little baby, and I went into the washroom. When I came out of the stall, a woman came out of the stall next to me, behind me, and she looked at me in the mirror and she said, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful. Why are you fat?" And that confirmed for me that I could not live for one more second
Right.
in this body that I was disgusted by. And I went against everyone in my family and everything I knew and set this up. We'll just make a long story short and say that once again, this doctor made a mess. But this time, he knew he was being investigated. So he tried to clean it up, which in fact made it worse. By the 3rd surgery, in 3 weeks, I now had an abscess on my left lung. I had peritonitis. I was dying.
Wow.
And he took me into surgery. I'm not quite sure what he had in mind when he took me in, but I do know that my heart stopped on that table. And he immediately started taking everything he'd done apart. One of the residents and another doctor got my heart going, and they didn't know what to do with what he'd now undone. I don't know all of what happened because he falsified a number of the reports, so we'll never know what actually went on in there. What I do know is this. When I finally woke up, they told me that I had also stopped breathing.
Right.
And they got me going again. And he called in a different surgeon, this one called a thoracic surgeon. And he had him take my esophagus and divert it out my neck so that nothing could get to the mess that he had made inside because it couldn't possibly heal. I was in ICU for 11 days. I was hooked up to so many machines, there weren't enough valves on the walls, and they had to use gravity suction for some of them.
Right.
I now had a hole in my neck that dribbled down my chest and was eating my skin. That's what they don't tell you is saliva's like battery acid. And it just was making absolute mess. I ended up the next month on a ward where the nurses felt so bad for what had happened. They contacted a stoma therapist. These are the people who deal with colostomies and people who have bowel issues. Now, what I didn't say was, when I went in for that surgery, I knew that for 3 weeks, I would have a tube in my side that I fed through, and I was to have nothing by mouth. And that was fine. I chose the surgery. What I didn't know was, it's now 2 months later. I'm still feeding through the tube in my side, and I have a hole in my neck. This stoma therapist taught me to wear a colostomy bag on my neck so that the saliva wouldn't ruin my skin.
Right.
The bag fell off every couple of days, so it wasn't ideal, but it was certainly better than it had been. And it gave the nurses the opportunity to give me popsicles.
Okay.
Not a good idea, but one thing you don't know until you get into a weird situation. Our body will go to extreme lengths to try and heal itself.
Yes.
And my body betrayed me. It allowed one of the blue popsicles to go through one of the other tubes. So the doctor found out that we'd all been cheating and they'd been giving me popsicles that came out the bag.
Oh.
This went on, my neck being open and a colostomy bag on my neck for 7.5 months. I fed through the tube in my side for 13 months. And it was only taken out because the emergency room surgeon said he was fed up putting it back and cutting me over and over again because the little stopcocks used to fall out a lot. And it was a matter of me living on something called Ensure. I think they have Ensure and Boost. It's a drink.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah.
For the next 10 years. Because I couldn't swallow. When they put my neck back together 7.5 months later, there was a pouch left from some of the scar tissue. So now I whoop like a crane. And when I yawn, people think I'm crying. I've had some very weird reactions in stores. I choose to now see the humor in all of this. But the weirdest part of this is I was such an angry, nasty human.
Right.
Because I was so deep in pain.
Yeah.
I live in pain 24/7. And for those first couple of decades, I didn't know how to handle it. In 1997, we were accosted by a road rage man in a parking lot. And he tried to run over my kids. I got in the way and ended up on the hood of his car as he tried to back away. People stopped him, but as I slid off the hood of his car and waited for the ambulance, all I could think was, oh my God, there has to be more to life than this. It can't be all this bad drama and garbage.
Yeah.
And then I sat up before I got in the ambulance and thought, you know what? This is the common denominator. I have to change this. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just knew that there had to be change.
Right.
This is not what I was put here for.
Yeah.
And I started devouring books, the 4 Agreements, the 9th Insight.
Right.
I watched Oprah. I tried to see anything and everything I could get my hands on.
Okay.
And we had the internet. It was great when we were able to move it so that I could get at it from bed. I could get at it from my hospital bed. I could get at it from my bed at home. And that became my outlet. Because I kept ending up back in hospital. Something else would happen, something else would fall off or fall apart or whatever. But I had new plan. I had something ahead of me that wasn't just negativity and nastiness.
Yeah.
And that allowed me to get back to what I really loved, and that was learning. Being able to do things that mattered, to do something for somebody else. I've been way too long wrapped up in the bubble of me. And in 2011, when I found, well, let me go back one short. I started doing websites. My first website was in 1999.
Okay.
I did it for a regional counselor. I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured, I had trained to be an interior decorator. So I had some smarts that way. And my daughter suggested, well, just take it online. You can't walk, you can't do stairs anymore. But hey, you can definitely design stuff, which was great. But the minute I designed that, I thought, okay, well, that's great. It looks wonderful. It's lovely, but how do people find it? Like, what good is something if you have to give them every letter to get there? That just seems weird. And by 2002, I had found the beginnings of search engine optimization.
Wow.
And that became for me a way to do things. It didn't matter if I was working in the middle of the night because nobody saw me. I could work for people and they didn't get to see the pain and the yuck and all the bits that I couldn't show to the world. But it was allowing me to feel productive. So that was something. And I kept learning all the other stuff too. And in 2004, we found the Holistic Missile. That's my spiritual advisor. And that ramped up everything that was getting good, which was wonderful. And then in 2011, social media found me.
Okay.
I had joined Facebook in 2007, basically to stalk my adult kids.
Okay.
They didn't live in our city anymore. And, when you hear the news and something goes wrong, you worry about your children. Well, I was annoying them by doing that. So I joined Facebook when it became open to not just college kids. Within 6 weeks, I had more friends than both kids. I right away saw that for my clients, this could be a wonderful tool to help them find new clients, to help them engage with other people. And for me, engaging with other people is just fascinating. I have such a curiosity about everything in the world, and it's just always been me. As I worked my way through the internet, 2011, 2012, in 2013, a friend invited me to go with her to a workshop.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I have a spiritual advisor. I'm way too advanced for some happiness workshop. But she doesn't want to go alone and she won a ticket, so I would go too.
Yes.
Well, the universe had big plans. Someone at that workshop asked the right question. And my whole story came tumbling out. I'd never told anybody any of it. And they were shocked. And when I stopped speaking, they said, oh my God, you can't keep that to yourself. You have to tell someone. Like, why? It's horrible. But you could help somebody. And I never understood that part at that time. But I knew by then that I would trust. And I said to the universe, okay, if this is what I'm supposed to do, then show me what's next. 2 weeks later, I was asked to be a keynote speaker at the Women Wisdom and Wellness event here in Ottawa that following September. And for the very first time, I told my story. And I haven't looked back. What I really want to talk about isn't my pieces, although the piece that your audience might be able to use is my integrate and optimize method.
Yes.
You see, all of the pieces that I was learning over all that time, I saw that, things work better when you put them together. It was for me like puzzles, okay? Little pieces coming together. The more pieces you have, the better picture you get.
Yes. Yeah.
The more sense that it starts to make. And as I went through different things, I realized that, you know what? That applies to us too. And without telling people what I was doing, because I didn't want them to think I was like too woo-woo, I realized that I was working with small business, many, many small business people. are actually filled with fear. It's fear of success or failure.
Yeah.
One of those two things. And I learned that you could do all the SEO and you wanted, all the SEO in the world. You could optimize everything on their website and off and their social. But if deep down inside, they were not congruent, their mind, their soul, their body, if they were not ready to be seen publicly, then it didn't matter what you did. They would not be seen, period, end of sentence.
Yeah.
But not wanting to throw the woo-woo at everybody and to completely confuse them, I left that part out on the surface. When I work with people, they would always say after a few months, wow, I wasn't sure we were ever going to get to what I came here for. I have one client who said, look, I thought I came here so you could teach me how to do video. Why are we looking at my Twitter account? And I understood deep inside, not that I could articulate it really well, but I knew that all those pieces had to interlock so that you were congruent, cohesive. So everything was lined up and all heading in the same direction. And that's when I realized in 2017, 2018, I was working with their mindset.
Yes. Yeah.
Because although business people talk about, Carol Dweck brought growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, that's important, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deep, deep inside. When you are in that fear mode and are not ready to be seen, you have to get to the place where your mindset says, I am enough.
Yeah.
I am worthy to be seen. My business is going to serve someone well. And it's important that I get it out there.
Absolutely.
And it took me a long, long time to really understand that and put it on the website and what have you. But in 2018, I was invited to LinkedIn in Toronto for the day, and off I went. I took the train. And just after I got to Toronto, I had a new cell phone and I needed a cell phone case.
Okay.
So I stopped in the subway on my way to LinkedIn and I found a case. I'm a real girly girl. I'm very much into bling and what have you.
Okay.
And I found a case that had Swarovski crystals on it and flowers. Wow. It was so pretty. And I said, oh, that's lovely. And the woman said, oh, it's Kate Spade. But, oh, okay, she's not normally a designer that I look at,
Yes.
but I'll take that cover. On the way home, on the train, I found out that she'd taken her life.
Wow.
And it was a powerful gut punch. Because when I first told my story, I realized, and the editor I worked with said, wow, your friend Andrea, the one who took her life, she's actually given you a gift. I said, yeah, the best, worst gift you could ever get. I know what it is deep inside to be one left behind. And that's why every time I came to the edge of making an exit, Andrea would come into my mind and show me just how devastated I was and how could I do that to the people around me. And I made a decision right there on that train. I have to do something. And again, it's like universe, what am I doing? I started a podcast.
Yes.
And I really didn't know how or why or what it really was going to be like for the first couple of years. Within a week, Anthony Bourdain also took his life. And it became a cry to people to please talk to somebody. I knew that going it alone, trying to be, unto oneself is not the answer. I did it for like 60 years. Trust me, it doesn't work. It's not the answer. And during the pandemic, the 2nd January of 2021, I got a call from a friend in California who said, I know you don't have Apple, but I'd like you to go buy an iPad. You have to get on this platform. It's called Clubhouse, and I think it would be really beneficial for you. She was talking about optimization and integration.
Yeah.
What she didn't know was in my head, I heard, this will help my podcast. And it's about suicide. And when I went to Clubhouse, I had morphed and it became Suicide Zen Forgiveness. And it is about guests sharing their stories, suicide loss, ideation, mental health. We offer hope to others from our stories, and we ourselves lighten our burden a little by sharing the story. And today, that has become a full-on mission to end the silence, the stigma, and the shame surrounding suicide loss, ideation, and mental health. Because one of the saddest things to me, we don't teach children how to drive their brain.
Yeah.
That sentence came from a friend who's been on the show. His name is Rex Sykes. And I mulled that over a lot and thought, he's so right. I call the nasty voices inside the itty bitty shitty committee. But it seems we all have them, no matter what you call them.
Yeah.
And children need to know, A, that all thoughts are not real, B, that they don't have to be acted on, and 3, that they should never be kept to yourself.
Yeah.
And that is part of this mission, is to stop that silence. I want everybody talking about it. There are different levels that one can talk about for children, but trust me, there are children as young as 8 that have left this world. And people don't talk about the children we lose young.
Yeah, that's so true.
And we don't talk about it. And we don't talk about mental health. And we don't talk about what we consider those icky topics.
Yes.
That just don't make us all seem like Superwoman and Superman. But guess what? None of us are. Marvel is a comic. All those superheroes are the things we can aspire to, but they're not us. We need the people around us to support us on the bad days, bad moments, whatever they are. And it's incredibly important that we not only get the message out, but I want everybody to take a moment, maybe once a month, and give 10 minutes to a stranger. Just listen. Just let them tell you something. It's a kindness that will pay you a gazillion times what you think you're giving away. And it can save a life.
Yeah. Elaine,
And I'm sorry, I've talked your ear off.
That's okay. I think this is an incredible journey of what you've been through, and that has inspired you to start the podcast. And I am blown away by your story of resilience, of having overcome so much. And now that you are giving back to society, to helping others, I think this is beautiful. And it helped the audience, I hope, to realize that there is so much power within us. There is an infinite wealth of potential and power within us to heal and to do great things in life and to manifest what we want. And I know we are coming towards the end. I've got another few minutes up, and then we've got to end. And I would like to ask you one last question, Elaine. How can people reach out to you today?
Thank you for that. And I really, it's a big story. I try to condense it as best I can. You can find me if you just look up Elaine Lindsay. You can find me all over the internet. I walk my walk. I say I'm at the corner of search and social. So you can check that one out too. My company is TROOLSocial. It's TROOLSocial.com. And that's TROOL, TROOL, social. TROOL is actually an acronym. It stands for the rest of our lives. You can go to a search engine, you can go to any social channel, and you'll find me there. And I'm more than happy to connect with everyone.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Elaine. It's been an immense pleasure listening and hearing about your journey. And I am sure the audience is feeling inspired because it's a one of a kind of story.
Yeah.
And I think it shows a lot how much power we've got within each one of us. And I would say big thank you to you for taking your time to be here, for inspiring us with your words of knowledge and your wisdom. And I will say thank you to the audience for watching, sharing, and subscribing. And I wish you all the best with your work on the podcast. Elaine, thank you. Thank you so much in everything that you do as well. I wish you all the best. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you so much. And to you and your audience, make the very most of your today every day.
That's so true. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.